Hello and welcome to this session at the World Economic Forum on India's economic blueprint. It is a matter of conversation in the corridors of WEF that India is the next big economic star. To what extent are we on the path of being able to realize our economic potential, and what are the pitfalls that can hold the India story back? To talk about India's current and emerging economic blueprint, I want to introduce our speakers for this conversation. We have Shobna Khamenini from Apollo. Shobna Khamenini, when you hear from the government, when you hear investors here at Davos, what according to you is it that gives you confidence that India will be able to unlock its true economic potential, and what do you fear could hold India back?
So I attended a CEO conference, the top CEOs of the US a couple of months ago. And I was astonished to hear that almost 20% of their workforce is in India. That's GCCs. My God, there are 2,000 of them without us knowing. They employ 1.2 million people now, and it's continuing to grow. So they're seeing some value. So I think that globally, when, again, people were interviewed, and it's not me as an Indian, but it's others speaking, and they said the same thing. Every time you say the India story, what gives you the confidence that the India story has come? And I think a couple of things why I think it's come is that we're in a really tough situation around the world, that there's so much uncertainty. So just think, since David Beckham got the Crystal Award, so you're in a playoff. There's no other leader that can bend it like Beckham, like Modi ji with this. So I think that, we're betting really on the fact that we have a great player who's leading this team. And that's serious. It's been there for 15 years. And I love the fact that the government is thinking like an owner, that they don't think about quarter by quarter, except when you're trying to push private sector. But, in this thing, but you're thinking long term, what can India be? And I think this what can India be is what excites everybody. So one factor, let me give you just a couple. So one, as a personal owner, I'm second generation business. My dad started this, and I've seen in the last 30 years that I've been working, and I have been working 30 years hard, and we've seen 20% compounding growth, CAGR of 20%. And the nice thing is that I know that when my kids take over, they're looking at a country and an economy that will be the same growth. Now tell me where you'll find that. And you meet business after business, and they'll see that optimism. And the thing is, they're finding different ways to do it. And that's the excitement, that it's not just the old way. Now we turned our business around to say that, we can't just give physical healthcare. We have to be digital. Now we move AI. And when you think exponentially, and that's what this government has been able to give us, or India has been able to give us, that we can dream to be. It's the cheapest cost of technology, to get IT services, of data. It's the cheapest in the world. Everybody has a mobile phone. So now they can think about creating, and most of us are born entrepreneurs. So all these people are thinking, what can we do to make this happen? And that's what I like about the India story. Another India story is that everything is not just concentrated in the metros. It's not concentrated in Delhi. It's about the states. It's about the hundreds of cities that are coming up now, which is exciting, that people are moving towards and thinking, I can become a billionaire even if I don't sit in the 4 metros. So this is the excitement. The compounding factor of India is something that no one else in the world can match, and that too with the stability.
Yeah. Shobna Khamenini, because we've got two sets of Indias. One at the very creamy layer, the super bright, sharp, highly educated, technologically savvy youngsters who run many of Silicon Valley's top companies, are playing an important role in India and the United States and elsewhere in the global economy, and that you've got a big bulge of people emerging out of different educational institutions who don't have the same skill set required to be able to thrive in an AI world. Sanjeev Bajaj says you have to do it now. are we doing enough to be able to ensure that that young generation has the skills required to plug India into the global economy? Or do you think that that could become a big bunch of people who are discontented because the world is changing? You are people at the top who are growing and they feel that they're being left behind.
The truth is, I think obviously we're not doing enough. And if you look at it, by 2030, India will have 1 billion employable people. That's 1 billion people who can be employed for the workforce. And it's everybody's problem. So, while I think that the ability, and I want to leave you with another fact. I just heard from this thing, Mark Benioff. He said, this will be the last age, we'll be the last CEOs in history to have just had employees who are human. So it's going to change, that we're not only will there be 1 billion employable Indians, but there will be another maybe 10 billion agents who are employable also into this workforce. So now that's what we have to see, what will move the needle. And I think that whatever that we need to do in India to create that social satisfaction is a big one, in which will all consumers. Nobody has immediate answers, but I think what's important is that the government recognizes that this is a figure, and this is the time. I agree with Sanjeev that this is the time. It's already late. We need to be able to bring those changes, and the hope is that we have the opportunity to be engaged in global supply chains. And just like we did with phones, just like we're going to do with auto, just like we're doing with defense. So there are other things in manufacturing, but more than that, like you say, in kind of services, India for a graying world, you can't get away from that. Yes, even we are aging, and a figure to yours is that we already have 90 million, 110 million people who are above 60 in India. But, having said that, there are a whole bunch of 1 billion people who can be employed for this world. So the government needs to be able to think. We as industry need to think how we can give more jobs. Easy for me to say because I'm in healthcare. We need bodies. And so while we can make the bodies more intelligent, but you will still need the physical to happen. And this is so important. So we need to double down on those industries that will create and bring back something of people to give them valuable work. Because I do believe that unless people feel valued, they're going to be unhappy. It's not just giving them an income. Nobody wants subsidies. They always come back and tell us, give us work. And I think it's our responsibility. So as much as technology companies, that are coming into India and are welcomed into India, they have to come also with a commitment that they'll create an X number of jobs. So I think this is something that we should put as an underlying that, that if I wake up in this thing, but I still think that used right, we'll definitely pass your 8% with this, If we can get those billion working in jobs.
So I'm Simran Preet. I run a non-profit in India. And in India's growth trajectory, we want to hear your perspectives on what role do you see social entrepreneurs playing? And when we talk of ease of doing business, ease of doing social work, right? How can they, from a compliances perspective, from the system which are there, so that more and more young people can become change agents and come forward and make things better, make public school systems better, make public healthcare better, so the delivery at the last mile can be improved. So how do you see the role that we...
Rahul,
yes.
I have one point on this. So I think that we're one of the few countries that has formalized CSR. So 2% going, and to give you that is... where actually companies are investing billions, and not just the 2%, they're investing more. So that goes into creating, because we think that social inequality will be the worst thing that can happen that will impede India's growth. It has to, all boats have to rise. But just to give you a point, that from this, when India was heading G20, Uday Kotak was part of one of the work streams. And he said, if the world followed India's model, then there would be absolutely there wouldn't be any need for us to think about about, that most of the NGOs would get funded. We would think about disease prevention, all those NGOs, and then climate change, all these, it would solve. So I think some of this is coming from India, the innovation that, I'm not saying nothing is ever enough, but I think that we have a strong structure for it.
So the clock tells me that we're out of time in this session on India's economic blueprint.
Please don't stop without R&D, what we do fabulously, and as part of India's economic blueprint. So thank you.